Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Did you want to be rich? Did you want to be rich in your relationships? Did you want to be rich in experiences in life? How do you see your life playing out? It can be a struggle. It can be hard. It can be working at something that you don't like in hopes to have a little bit of time to enjoy your life, or you can focus on building a life that you really love, that starts with thinking about what do you want. Wallace D. Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says the thought is the only power that can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks. The universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently toward more life and fuller functioning. Nature is formed for the advancement of life. Its motive is the increase of life. For this reason, everything which can possibly minister to life is beautifully, bountifully provided. There can be no lack in your life. Whether you believe in an infinite intelligence, a higher power, God, universal mind, spirit, I believe there must be something higher, something that is beyond our human knowledge and experience. If you believe that there is something bigger, something that you can call on for help, tap into that energy. Allow yourself to think bigger, more expansion. Wallace Waddle says there can be no lack unless God is to contradict himself and nullify his own works. You are not kept poor by a shortness in the supply of riches. Now, throughout this book, The Science of Getting Rich, he doesn't talk about money, he talks about richness. You can even describe chocolate as being rich. You can describe a field as being rich. You can describe a person who is financially poor as being richly blessed in life, in experiences, in people that they love. What part of your life do you want to be more richly blessed? It could be financial wealth. It could be working on allowing yourself to be richly blessed in friendships, in love, in relationships, in purposeful work. If you were doing what your heart desires, how many more people would be richly blessed just by you being here on this earth in this period of time, contributing to the fullness of life, the richness of life? Wallace Waddell says original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. We are living in a thought world. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought. If the thought of a house of a certain construction were impressed upon the formless substance, it might not cause the instant formation of that house, but it would cause the turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce into such channels as to result in the speedy building of the house. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, the house would be formed directly from primal substance without waiting for the slow processes of the organic and inorganic world. He suggests no thought of form can be impressed upon the original substance without causing the creation of that form. You are a divine spark of energy. You have been gifted with 6 mental faculties. You have the ability to think. You can reason. Animals cannot reason, they just run on instinct. You have been given the power of imagination. You can tap into that invisible thinking power, formless substance, and make a decision. What do you want to think about? Your thoughts are so powerful. You can think a thought of a new house being built, and you can think about what it would look like, what it would feel like to be living in that house, where the rooms would be, where the stairs would be, where the windows would be, what view would you look out from inside the house? What does the outside look like? If you wanted a new house, you start out with a fantasy. You build the fantasy and you move it from fantasy to theory. You must believe that you are able and willing to do what is required in order to turn the fantasy into a theory, and then that theory into a goal, something that you're going after, into physical reality, into a fact. But your thoughts can go in a negative direction. They could go into the past, what already is, what was, and you can concentrate your thinking on something that you don't want, and it can cause you to worry and fear and be anxious. We don't want to go in that direction. We want to go in the direction of what would I build? What would I love? I know what I don't want. What do I really want? And not letting the outside conditions or circumstances dictate what we create in our minds, what we create in our hearts, what we want to create in physical reality. Wallace Waddell says a human being is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with his or her hands must first emerge from thought. An individual cannot shape a thing until that same individual has thought that thing. And so far as the human race has confined its efforts wholly to the work of its hands, it has applied manual labor to the world of forms, seeking to change or modify already existing forms. Our human race has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing thought upon the formless substance. When individuals have a thought form, they take material from the forms of nature and make an image of the form which is in the mind. You don't have to worry about there's not enough to go around. This universe is infinite. You know, when you're thinking thoughts of lack and limitation, that holds you back from developing thoughts of infinite, unlimited. What do you really want? And you don't look to the past for what you can build in the future, because the past is only an indication of where you have been, what you have done, what you have thought. You can use your energy to decide on something that you really want, and we are giving it shape. We're changing molecular structure. You take an idea and start to take action, even if sometimes it doesn't make sense. You have an intuition that guides you. You can imagine a beautiful scene, a house that you want, appliances to fill that house, a vehicle, a trip, a business idea that has never before been tried. You can take something that has already been invented and make it better. Change it so that it's different and works better. It helps more people. It solves more problems. That's what the cell phone has done compared to the rotary dial phones that used to hang on the wall and were wired in. Computers used to take up the space of a whole building, and now there's more power in the cell phone that you carry around in your purse or pocket than previous computers. We don't have to go to the library and look up information in encyclopedias. At the touch of a few buttons, we have instant answers. We've become reliant on instant. But in order to decide what you really want and bring it into physical form, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take for your loving relationship, for the millions of dollars in the bank account. If you were going on a trip of a lifetime, you wouldn't decide that the goal was to come home, and then you might as well just stay home, because the ultimate goal is to return home safely after an adventure. You want to experience the trip, seeing another country, maybe air travel or travel by sea or hiking mountains. It's for the pleasure of the journey. So what is it that you really want? Don't let anything outside of you stop you from going after that. You want to get emotionally involved with a goal that you really desire, as you involve your emotions, the expression of that emotional involvement starts to change your behavior. And as your behavior changes, your results start to change and your life changes. The fantasy that was once in your mind, you've decided to go after it and make it a goal, and then you start to take action, and through the works of your human hands, it becomes your physical reality. Whether you're on the trip viewing life in different countries, experiencing different cultures, different languages, different food, different sights and sounds, or building something to leave as a legacy, whether it's a hospital, a school, an endowment fund. What do you want for your life? Wallace Waddle says when individuals have a thought form, they take material form from the forms of nature and make an image of the form which is in the mind. And first, we assert that there is one original formless substance from which all things are made. All seemingly many elements are only different presentations of one element. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are only different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. A human being is a thinking center capable of original thought. If any one of us can communicate our thought to original thinking substance, we can cause the creation or formation of the thing we think about. So he gives us a summary. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. You can form things in your thought, and by impressing your thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing you think about to be created. Wallace Waddle says, I have said that an individual gets rich by doing things in a certain way. In order to do so, you must become able to think in a certain way. Your way of doing things is the direct result of the way you think about things. To do things in the way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step toward getting rich. To think what you want is to think truth regardless of appearances. You have the natural and inherent power to think what you want to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think thoughts which are suggested by outward appearances. To look around you, to think according to what's already here, to think according to appearances is easy. To think truth, regardless of appearances, is laborious. It requires the expenditure of more power than any other work you have to perform. He also says there is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It's the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. This can only be prevented by holding the thought of the truth. It requires power to think health when surrounded by appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of the appearances of poverty. But when you acquire this power, you become a master mind. You can conquer fate. You can have what you want. This power can only be acquired by getting a hold of the basic truth which is behind all appearances, that there is one thinking substance from which and by which all things are made. You can form things in your thought, and by impressing thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing you think about to be created. As you get quiet and think about what you really want, don't ask why this is true or speculate how it could happen. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith, this truth. It takes getting into a state of being at ease. When you are at ease, you can create from the formless substance. Have you got an idea of what you really want? Does it feel impossible, or is it something that you've always wanted and just never knew how to even get started? When you relax your body and your mind, allow the creative juices to flow. Allow the infinite intelligence to speak to your heart. That takes getting into the spirit of what do you really want. Getting into an energy of well-being. Getting still. Calming your body, calming your mind, and getting clear on the picture, visualizing it. When you close your eyes, visualize what do you really want. Maybe it is a lot more money so that you can go on trips all over the world, or live in the dream house, or help your family, or start a new business. It doesn't matter what it is or why you want it. Your why you want it should be so big, so wonderful, you should be so emotionally connected to why that it makes you cry. You might tell your goal to another person and they would think you're crazy, or they wouldn't want that. They don't get emotionally involved. It has to come from your imagination, from your conscious thought, and then you turn it into a goal that you're going after. You're going to finally do this. It's what you really want. And then allow yourself to relax and let your imagination wander. Fantasize. Get clear on a picture of what it would look like, but more importantly, how you're going to feel. when you're living in that fantasy, that goal, that thing you always wanted, that place that you dream of, worrying about how it's going to happen will limit you or destroy the fantasy. So just think about what you want. What do you love the most? Really spend time in your imagination getting a clear picture of your desire. You've been gifted with an imagination. Use it to create whatever you want. And then write it down. Write it down as if it's fact, not fantasy. Write it down as if it's already happened. You might say, I am so happy and grateful that this is my life. And write it out as if it's here now. You're describing it to another person. You're so excited. You're comfortable. You're calm and cool and collected because it's done. It's yours. You're at ease. You have faith. You know that it's yours. No one else can take it from you. This is an infinite universe. And it doesn't matter how much you want, how much you take. There is more. There's an infinite amount for everyone else to tap into this beautiful energy and create whatever they want. Whatever it is that you would very much like to be or do or have, write it down. Think about what it would feel like. Get into that feeling, because emotionalizing your goal will cause you to take action. As you take action, you change the outcome. You create a ripple in the universe, and the universe reacts to your action, to your behavior. The universe rewards you with what you're thinking about and what you're doing about it. Your thoughts plus your feelings plus your actions transmute the energy of thought into physical reality. Spend time thinking about what it is you really desire, and as you get an idea, write it down and take action on it. Your actions cause the results in your life. Create what you really desire. It's simple, but it's not easy. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I'll see you back here at 9 o'clock to talk about closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Create a wonderful day. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 for another round of morning mindfulness. Thank you.